Okay, so we're on week 3 now, and we are going to start doing the borders. So there's an internal border around what is essentially a small blanket in the middle. So I've completed all these squares and I've crocheted them together. Don't worry if it's a little bit ripply at the moment, that will flatten out and straighten. As long as you haven't made your seams too tight on these, it will all either block out or just stretch out really, because it's a blanket. But what we're going to do now is put an edging on here, and in order to neaten all this up, we're going to do cream again on the edging, so it's the same colour. And the plan for this is, starting at one corner, we're going to do UK double crochets all the way across, a 2 chain corner, and then we're going to turn and we're going to work all the way around every side. So you've got 105 stitches at the end, so you're going across all 27 here, and then picking up at this point, and you're not actually working into the corners, you're working into the individual stitches. Then you should have 51 stitches there, and then again little jump across and another 27 at the end. So I'm starting right in that very first stitch at the top and bring your yarn through. I'm doing my one little chain there with the tail. That's not a stitch, doesn't count as a stitch. And then I need to start a double crochet. Just set my hand up properly. There we go. So that is a double crochet. You can pull the tail a little bit tighter as you've done that. It will even itself out. We're now going to work the double crochet all the way across. So it's one for every stitch. Do these fairly methodically, don't sort of try and rush at it. You want it neat, not too loose, not too tight. Personally, I think too loose, you're going to end up with a very floppy blanket, and what you're actually wanting to do here is just firm up the edging so that you're ready to do the lovely little internal border that we're working on this week. So all the way across here. Oops. So that should be my 27, and then you're jumping across here, and I'm just going to start there because that's where my join is, and that could be, it can be very difficult to work into where you've actually sewn things together. So I'm just looking for the neatest way of getting one stitch into there, and then we're back on with all the easy stitches again. So carrying on with your double crochet. So I'm not going to make you watch me do the whole lot. That would be very boring. So I'll let you carry on with that. When you get to the next join, do exactly the same there. When you get to the corner, you need 2 chains at the corner, and it might just be worth as well doing a quick count to make sure that you've got your 105 stitches on every side, because then all your subsequent rounds will be really much easier to do. It's always best to get your baseline with the right number of stitches, even on a blanket where you can fudge things a little bit without it even, nobody would notice. But it's best if you can get that straight. So we'll be back again shortly with finishing the round and beginning round 2. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to show you, I've got all the way along that edge, and you've come to your corner now. So I've just double checked, and I've got 105 stitches across there, and then it's a 2 chain to give you the corner, and then I'm going to start working straight away into that one, so that very first stitch, and we start working with another 27 double crochet. So again, I'm going to pause the video because you don't need to watch me go all the way around the edge of the blanket doing double crochets, but we'll pick back up again at the end shortly. Okay, we've completed the first round, so round 1 of the border, the internal border. So what you should have down each side is 105 double crochet and then a 2 chain corner in each corner. So round 2, which is yarn C, and for me that's this lovely green, sage green. And so we're going into a corner, and we are going to chain 3. So as usual, I'm doing 1 with the tail and 2 with the normal yarn. Do just point out that that's my preference, not something that the designer stipulates. It's just the way I like to work on that one. So we're now going to do another treble into that corner, and then 2 chains and another 2 trebles. So that's your corner, which is the equivalent of 2 trebles, 2 chains, 2 trebles. Now we're going to start then working some V-stitches. So we're going to miss the next stitch, which is, for me, is that one, and then we're going to do 1 treble, 1 chain and another treble, all into that second stitch there. Then you miss 2 stitches and you work the V-stitch combination. So miss 2, so that's a treble into that 3rd stitch and a chain and another treble. And we're going to keep going until we reach the final stitch of this side. So miss 2 and then 1 treble, 1 chain, 1 treble, miss 2 and then work into number 3. So continue with that all the way along the side, miss 2 in there, all the way to the corner, and we'll pick up again with the corner in just a minute. Okay, so we're right back at the end. We're going to miss that stitch and then we're going to work 2 trebles and 2 chains and then another 2 trebles. Then we're going to miss the first stitch again like we did before and we're going to carry on with the V stitches. So that's a treble, a chain and a treble, miss 2 into the third, and we're going to continue that all the way around till we join the round at the end. So I'll just pause it for you there, and then you can join me again at the end of the round. Okay. So here we are with round 2 complete. It's only just fitting into my screenshot now. So we've got the 2 treble, 2 chain, 2 treble corners, and then missed a stitch, and then the V stitch, which is a treble, a chain and a treble. Missed 2 stitches, and then another V stitch all the way across. So it's a nice, easy row to do, very repetitive in a good way. So we're now back with round 3. Round 3 is in yarn F, which for me is this beautiful cherry red, and we are joining into any of the corner chain spaces, and again we're doing a 3 chain to get this round started. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to do 2 trebles into the same corner. There we go. And then 2 chains and another 3 trebles, because now we're working in sets of 3 trebles for this next round. So for each corner, apart from this first one where you had to use a chain of 3, we're going to have 3 trebles, 2 chain, 3 trebles at every corner. So we're then going to miss 3 stitches, so that's 1, 2, 3. So basically we're going to be working into the centre of the V stitch, and we're going to do 3 trebles into the chain space in the middle. Oops. So nice set of 3 there. Then you're going to miss these 2 stitches and again do a set of 3 trebles. So another lovely, easy, repetitive round that's just so nice to work when you're relaxing and crocheting, because some of the squares are quite complex, so you do have to concentrate, and so it's lovely to break that up by then doing a border where you've got this lovely repetitiveness. So that's what you're doing there. You've got 3 trebles, 2 chain, 3 trebles, and then 3 trebles into every V stitch all the way to the end, and then doing another corner. So again, I won't make you watch me do all this because you'd be here forever. But you crack on with it, and we'll see you again at the end with to do the next round. So that will be round 4. Okay, see you shortly. Right, welcome back to round 4. So we've finished round 3 in the red, the lovely red yarn, and it's getting a little bit too big for my space. But we are now going to start round 4 in yarn A, which is the lovely yellow. For me, it's the buttercup. So just be a little bit careful on this one, and I'll explain why in a second. So with this, we're joining into a corner, but we're doing 4 chains. So as usual, I've done 1 with the tail, and then I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 with the working yarn. And that counts for this round as a half treble and 2 chain. And then I have to work another half treble into this corner. So that's wrap in, grab it and back through, round and through all 3 loops. That's your half treble. Okay, now we're going to do 1 half treble into each of the next 3 stitches, but we're only doing this at the very beginning of the row. So before you get carried away and start whizzing off down the row, you've got 3 half trebles there. Then you're actually missing this stitch and you're going to work into the gap for this next stitch. So let me just double check. Yeah, 1 half treble into that gap. So in effect, you're missing that stitch and working into the gap underneath it. Then you're going to work 2 half trebles, 1 into each of the next 2 stitches, like so. So you can see how you've got one that looks slightly longer, even though you've worked it exactly the same, because it's going into that gap, it looks a longer stitch. And then you just work 2 stitches, so you've missed that one and worked into the next 2. And then we do that again. We work 1 stitch into the hole and then 1 stitch in each of the next 2 stitches. And you're going to continue working 1 into the hole and then 2 individuals into the next 2, all half trebles. You're going to go all the way to the end, and then just because it's slightly different, I'm going to pick up again at the corner. So I'm going to let you carry on across this row in your own time, and then we'll pick up the recording again at the next corner, just so I can show you exactly how you need to be working your corners. So I'll see you again in a few minutes at the other end of the row. Okay, so I've got to my first corner and I'm just going to demonstrate this. So you've got your half treble into the gap, then half treble into those 2 stitches, and again one of the long half trebles, and then a short one into each of the next 2 stitches. And then you're back at the corner. So this time you're going to do a half treble, 2 chains and a half treble. Okay, now at that point, that's where it just changes ever so slightly, because on this section you are working 3 half trebles into the stitches, and that's because if you worked a long half treble there, you'd end up with 2 in the corner at one side, so it would make it lopsided, which isn't what you want. But then once you've done those 3 individual half trebles there, you do the long half treble again and the 2 shorter ones, and then continue again as you were before, all the way along the row to the next corner. So I'll just show you that one so you've got a nice clear view of it. So you've got your long half trebles, 2 shorter ones, the longer one, 2 shorter ones, and then a half treble, 2 chain and a half treble, and then 3 half trebles into the stitches just in that first bit of the corner. Okay, hope that's helpful, and we'll come back at the end of the round to look into round 5. Okay, so we have finished round 4. You're getting this lovely edging coming out, really lovely and colourful. We're now on to round 5, which is yarn H, and for me that one is this lovely candy pink colour. So as before, we're going to join into a corner space, and then we're going to chain 3. So I've got 1, 2, 3. Then for the first, that counts as a treble by the way, so for the first corner we're going to do 1 treble, 2 chain and then 2 trebles, so that we've evened up the corner. Now with this, we are now going to work 1 treble into every stitch, and there is a special little note to say pay attention to the first stitch because it's quite difficult to spot it when it's the half trebles. So actually you're almost working backwards there. So your first stitch is the top of this one, which is, you almost feel like you're working back into the corner chain space, but you're not. So do make sure that you work into that very, very first space, because otherwise you won't get the 117 stitches. Because what you have along this side is 113 of the yellow stitches, but then you make up the 117 by having 2 here and then 2 at the other end, all in the corner space. So carry on with this, working your trebles all the way along. Make sure you've got your 113, and then in the corners you're working 2 treble, 2 chain, 2 treble, and again making sure you start in that very, very first stitch. So obviously I'm not going to make you watch me doing so many stitches, because that would be very boring but quite therapeutic when you're doing it yourself. So you carry on and we'll catch up again at the end of this round. Okay, so we've now gone all the way round, finished with this lovely pink border, and I'm now going to start the next round. So as before, we're going into a corner, and for this one we have got this lovely opal yarn. So bring that through, got to 1 chain with the tail, set your hand up, oops, and then do 2 more. Then we're going to work another treble, 2 chains, and another 2 trebles into the corner. Got control of the yarn. Right, okay, and then we're going back to working the V stitches that we've done before. So we're going to miss that first stitch, then we're going to work 1 treble, 1 chain, and 1 treble. So at that point you've only missed 1 stitch here. Then on all subsequent ones we're going to miss 2 stitches and work the same again. So 1 treble, 1 chain, 1 treble, all into the next stitch, and again miss 2 stitches, 1 treble, 1 chain, 1 treble, and again miss 2, 1 treble, 1 chain, 1 treble. And we're going to work like this all the way across the row and to the next corner. Now when you reach the next corner, just check you should be at the final stitch of the other end of the row. So you should be sort of here when you've finished, and then you work 2 trebles, 2 chains and 2 trebles into that corner, turn, miss your 1 stitch, and then carry on. And we're going to do that all the way around. So it's very similar to a round that we've done before, is this, so I'm not expecting you to have any problems with it. And we'll come back at the end of this when we've gone all the way around and show you the next bit. Okay, so we've finished round 6 and this was your V-stitch. So this is how it should look and how you want your corners to look. So hopefully that's helpful. You need 39 groups of these V-stitches around the side plus your corners. So that's what you should have. I do recommend as well just counting before you actually cut your yarn off. So I did a quick count as I'd done each round or each row, each side. So now we're on to round 7 with, oops, things moving, with the clementine. So this is the yarn eye for me, which is clementine. And again, we're joining into any of the corners and doing a chain of 3, which counts as your first treble. That's 1, 2, 3. Slightly different to last time, we're now going to do 2 trebles. And then 2 chain, and this time 3 trebles. Okay, so that's your corners, and your corners going forward will be 3 trebles, 2 chain, 3 trebles. Then for the first bit of the round, or the row, you're actually missing 3 stitches, so that's those 2 plus that one, and we're going to be working each time into the centre of the V-stitch, and you need to work 3 trebles into that 1 chain space. And then we miss these 2 stitches, and again each time 3 trebles into the 1 chain space. So you need to be working this all the way across, so you can see what you're trying to achieve there. You're going to work that all the way across to the other end, and when you've finished this final V-stitch at the other end of your row, you're then working into the corner with your 3 treble, 2 chain, 3 treble. Don't be tempted to work into there or there, because you would end up with too many stitches and a very sort of ripply, funny shaped corner, so you must stop when you get to the last V-stitch before the corner. So if you carry on, work all your way around, and we'll see you again at the end of the row for the next round. Okay. Okay, so here we are, we've finished round 7, and you can see how you've got this lovely, neat, clean border where you've got 3 trebles into each V-stitch, and then 3 trebles, 2 chain, 3 trebles into your corners. So nice and easy and clear. Right, round 8 is in the lovely bright blue, the azure for me, and that's yarn B. And we're going to again go into a corner. I try and go into a different corner every time, so that you don't have any one place that it doesn't exactly look messy, but it's not always just quite as neat as the corners where you've just worked round the corner. So I always try and pick a different corner, and that way it just seems to make the blanket look better, more even, etc. So I've joined into the corner. I've done a 1 chain already, and I'm going to do another 3 because you need 4 chains for this first corner. 3, 4 in total. So 1, 2, 3, 4 chains. And that counts as a half treble and 2 chains, because now we're going to have a row with half trebles in. So a half treble is where you wrap, go into the hole, grab, bring it back through, but then round and through all 3 at once. Okay, so that's the half treble into the corner. Now at the beginning of the row, you're doing 3 half trebles into the next 3 stitches, so you need to make sure that you start in that one. So I'm going right into that very first one because I'm going to work 1 there, 1 there and 1 there. We've done something similar to this before. So that's my 3 half trebles there. And then, rather than working the half treble into here, we're going to work the next one into this gap. So, it's not actually a chain space, but it's a bit like working into a chain space. Then we're going to do 2 half trebles, 1 into each of the next 2 stitches. But that's technically the stitch that you've missed and worked underneath. So that's 1 into there. And 1 into the next one, and then you're at your gap again, and you've got to work your half treble into the gap, and this way you get what looks like a slightly long stitch. It's actually not been worked any differently to the others, it's just the fact that it's taken a little bit of extra yarn to go under that gap. Then missing that one, you're in here, and then another treble into the next one, and then again into the gap, then missing the very next stitch into that one, and into that one. So you're going to be working your way all the way along the side doing this combination, and when we get to the other corner, I'll just finish working this row across. When we come to this corner, I'll just demonstrate that one for you, just to make it perfectly clear, because they are slightly more tricky than some of the other corners that we've done. So I'm going to crack on with the rest of this, and then I'll rejoin you back here in a moment. Okay. So we're back at this corner, and so I'm working 2 half trebles here, another half treble into the gap, and then 2 more half trebles into those 2 stitches. Okay, then a half treble, 2 chains, and another half treble, all into the corner, and then starting right in this one, I've got to do 3 half trebles. So you can see I've got the long one, then the 2 shorter ones, then the corner, which is the half treble, 2 chain half treble, then 3 half trebles there, and then 1 of the slightly longer half trebles, and then back to what you've been doing all the way along the line, which is 2 half trebles into the next 2 stitches, and then 1 into the hole, and we're back to the standard format there. So that just gives you a nice clear view of your corners. So again, carry on all the way round back to where we do the slip stitch to join, and then we'll see you in the next round. Okay. Okay, so we're back with the end of round 8. So this is what you should have now on your corners. It's getting a little too big to fit into the whole of the space, so hopefully that gives you a nice clear view of what you've achieved up to now. So that's round 8, and we're about to start round 9. For this one it's the yarn E, which for me is the ecru, and again we're going into a corner, and we need to do a 3 chain, same as we've been doing previously, And then for this corner of this final round, we need, that's sorted, 1 treble, 2 chains, and another 2 treble. 2. And we need to get 125 stitches along the side, plus 2 at this end in the corner and 2 at the other end. So it's 129 in total, but 125 of them need to go across the top. So in order to get all those in, you, oops, lost control of the hook. I think it's best to work, you need to get right into the very first stitch, which a bit tricky to see, but it's almost like it's before the original one. And obviously this is a treble, so I should have wrapped before I went in. So let's get both sides. It is fiddly. There we go. I think I've got it there. No, I haven't. I've split the yarn. That's it, got it. So hopefully you can see there that you've got the 2 strands above the hook. So after you've got that first slightly fiddly treble out of the way, we're then working into every stitch across, and it's just 1 individual treble. And it's up to you if you want to sew that in completely afterwards. I quite like to, where possible, just tuck it in at the back and crochet just a few stitches over it to start with, and then I will finish sewing that end in properly when I've finished the row. Oops. Yarn's not playing fair this afternoon. So we're going to work trebles all the way across to the final corner. So you should have 125 individual trebles across, but you should have a pair at the beginning there, and then at the other end in the corner you'll work 2 trebles, 2 chain, and another 2 trebles for the corner, and then again start by trying to get into that very, very first stitch there. So I'm going to continue going all the way round, and of course I'm not going to make you sit and watch me. Can take anything up to half an hour to do a whole round when the blanket is this big, so don't feel that you're being incredibly slow if it's taking you a while to do it. You know, these are long rows. So anyway, we'll see you again at the end of this, and I'll show you the finished border. So see you again shortly. Bye. Okay, so here we are at the end of round 9 for the inner border, and hopefully you can see there what a lovely effect you get with this, and what a lovely neat edging you've got. So that's the end of that section, and the next bit will be to create the next pieces, and then eventually put a border onto those too. So we'll see you in the next instalment. Thanks for watching.